Dan Snyder is officially out of Washington. That's right, he is no longer the owner of the Washington Commanders after the NFL owners voted during a special session Thursday to unanimously approve the team's sale from the Snyder family to a group that was being led by Josh Harris. Now, Harris came out and spoke to the media and, decided to say a few words. He said that today my partners and I were entrusted by the NFL with the stewardship of a great franchise. Now, Harris has been a lifelong Washington football fan, at least that's what he's come out and said, so he is going to be very passionate about making this team great again, because at one point in NFL history, the Washington Commanders were not a laughingstock. I mean, go look at this team's run during the 80s and 90s, where the Redskins won 3 Super Bowls from 82 to 91. They were one of the best teams in the NFL during that time. Hell, they even made a couple more. I'm pretty sure they made 4 during that run and won 3 of them. So the Washington Redskins the Commanders, are a storied franchise, one that had been great for a long time. But ever since Dan Snyder had taken ownership of the team, they hadn't been able to find any success. I mean, since Dan Snyder bought this team back in 1999 for about $750 million, the team's found almost zero success. Now, the years leading up to the selling of the team in the late 90s weren't very good. Like I said, they won the Super Bowl in 91, and then after that went on a 7-season stretch where they missed the playoffs entirely. And, things were looking bright because in 99, Snyder's first year owning the team, they made it all the way to the divisional round before losing. So there's that. But since then, since 1999, his first season owning the team, the Washington Commanders have only made it out of the wild card round once. And that was back in 2005 when the team went 10-6. And, they ended up losing in the divisional round. Since then, they've had a couple wildcard appearances here and there. I want to say maybe 4 since 2005. And in every appearance, they lose. And maybe it's because they can't find the right pieces. Or even when they do find really good players, they get injured. I'm talking Robert Griffin III. I mean, this guy was a fantastic prospect. He was very high going into the draft. That's why the Washington Commanders selected him so early, because the dude had major talent, and he showed that his rookie season, his second season. Robert Griffin looked like the future of the NFL. He looked like what all QBs would, eventually become, right? But that just didn't go the right way, because again, as we all know, RG3 suffered with injuries his entire career. I mean, one of RG3's best qualities was the fact that he was so mobile in the pocket. He was more of a running QB, and of course he did have an arm, but it was his threat on the ground and in the air that made him so versatile. But we all know how that went. I mean, in his third season, he only played 9 games after missing a handful in his second. And, after 2014, I'd say is when his career took a deep dip. I mean, he didn't play at all in 2015 due to injuries. 2016, he went to Cleveland. He wasn't even with the organization by his 5th season in the NFL. And then, in Cleveland, he only played 5 games, and he lost. I want to say he lost 4 of those 5 games the team lost. And after that, he had a little stint in Baltimore being Lamar Jackson's backup. And that's about it. I mean, he's now what? He's a broadcaster now. I'm pretty sure he works for ESPN or whoever. He's in the entertainment industry. He's not even a quarterback anymore. And he was only drafted 11 years ago. So it sucks to see what happened with RG3. But I bring him up to say that this team doesn't have great luck. And even when they do, right, like Kirk Cousins was a solid QB, they didn't even decide to pay him. And yeah, he's a little average, mediocre maybe. But with Kirk Cousins, I want to say the team was pretty successful. Let's see here. He took up the helm right after RG3, right? So he took up the mantle of QB. Cousins was pretty solid for the team in, I want to say, the mid-2010s. But during his best seasons, the Washington Commanders, I guess, only won 7 to 9 games a year. So they still weren't even making the playoffs with Kirk Cousins, and they had good coaches. I mean, I'm pretty sure their coach during the Kirk Cousins era was Jay Gruden, brother or related to John Gruden, famous head coach. So Jay Gruden, and before him they had Shanahan. I want to say Mike Shanahan, again related to Kyle Shanahan, I'm sure. So they had some pretty solid coaches, but that didn't seem to matter because during the Shanahan and Gruden era, they only made the playoffs twice, losing in the wild card both times. So like I said, the team has been very bad under the Snyder regime. And even recently getting a new head coach like Ron Rivera, who was very successful for the Carolina Panthers, it just hasn't seemed to turn this, organization around. I mean, let's be real. They tried it with Tyler Heineke, who looked really good in one playoff game versus Tom Brady in the Buccaneers. I'm pretty sure that's who we went up against in the wild card. And even though he looked amazing, they still lost. That was their only playoff appearance with Ron Rivera as head coach. So there's that. And then Heineke gets replaced by Carson Wentz last season, and Carson Wentz doesn't even look that good. I mean, who's going to be their quarterback heading into this season? It's a mess in Washington. And now that they have new ownership, whenever new ownership steps up to the plate with these, sports teams, they go into rebuild mode, right? They'll go into rebuild mode. They'll get a whole new front office, whole new players, whole new coaching staff. And even though there's new ownership, maybe Ron Rivera is good enough to stick around. And of course, they'll probably keep guys like Terry McLaurin, their running back, Antonio Gibson, I'm pretty sure that's his name. So yeah, maybe those key pieces stick around, but other than that, this team is a dumpster fire, and hopefully this new group led by Josh Harris, this new ownership group, is able to restore the glory of this Washington football team. Like I said, they've won 3 Super Bowls in that little run in the 80s, 90s? Yeah, they've won way more than half of the teams in the NFL. So this is a storied franchise, let's not forget that. And maybe Harris and this new ownership group have what it takes to, boost up the reputation of this franchise, because it has been down in the gutters. They're like the Oakland A's of the NFL in terms of reputation. Their stadium's been a huge mess. All these scandals with Dan Snyder. I haven't even covered the scandals with Dan Snyder in this video, and that's not really what the point of this video was, right? It was to look about the Commanders' past and see where they go from here. Of course, Dan Snyder is a huge mess, but whatever. That's about it for this video. Catch y'all later. Much love. Deuces.